Hi, Orange Girl here with another scrapbooking process video for you. I am working with Flair from A Flair for Buttons today, and I'm working with this photograph of my daughter. She is wearing a Batman sweatshirt. If you follow me very much, you'll know that she is definitely someone who loves Batman and has ever since she was really little. But the reason that this photo was even taken was because she found the style space bun hair kind of style on the internet and went ahead on her own without any help from anyone or suggestions from anyone, and made her own hair do what was on the internet. And so this was kind of a big deal just because usually she hasn't been super interested in trying anything very trendy. But this year, a lot of that has changed. And so it was kind of like she's kind of growing up sort of thing, but also she's still got that Batman sweatshirt on. So it just kind of made me happy. It was just a great photo, and I wanted to document the story. And I just really like the picture of her as well because it just totally looks like her. So what I decided to do was pull out yellow from the shirt and use all the yellow that I could find in this collection. I am using the Cocoa Vanilla Studios Sunkissed collection that just came out. And as you can see, I kind of played with some different things at first, but I ended up pulling out all of the yellow flowers from the die cut ephemera pack, and now I am finding other yellow flowers in various locations of the pattern papers and fussy cutting them. I also decided to fussy cut these die cuts a little bit to cut off some of the white. It has a pretty thick white border, which I like a lot of times, especially if I do mixed media in the background. But in this case, I was just thinking I didn't want it to be quite as white because I was going to mix in some that I was fussy cutting as well from pattern papers. So after I did a bunch of that, then I decided I was going to do some mixed media in the background. And so I pulled two different distress oxides. Wild Honey is the darker color and it's almost an orange. But when I mix it with this yellow, it looks just like a darker yellow. The yellow is mustard seed. And so I'm just using the technique that a lot of scrapbookers use where you just put it on some plastic and I'll add some water and flip it over and smush it onto the page. It looks kind of watercolory, lots of words that aren't real words, like or technical words at least, smushing things on the page and such. So I'm smushing and I am adding this watercolor look to the background. Then I took the Distress Oxide that is the darker color called Wild Honey, and I'm adding some stamps. I'm using some stamps to, these are from Vicky Bouton, and it's just a background stamp, and it has little like X's on it, and I'm using those just to add a little bit of more texture to the background, and I'll use those again later, and you'll see how I end up doing that. I also took, I believe it was a piece of patterned paper from the collection. It might have been from the small pad, or I can't remember if it was from a full 12 by 12, but it was yellow, and I put that behind the photograph, and it has both of those colors of yellow in it, kind of the darker color and then the lighter yellow. And now I'm just kind of trying to place my flowers around my photograph, as well as a few up in the upper right hand corner. Just to add a little bit more, just kind of bring it all across the page. My thought was that I was going to put my journaling, and I have my journaling here on strips, so I'm going to cut those out here. And my thought was the reason that I put so much yellow was because I wanted something to house my journaling on. I didn't want it just to be out in the middle of nowhere. So I decided to add some yellow there so that I could just put my journaling and my title right beside my photograph. So that's what I'm doing. So I just typed this up on my computer and printed it out on my printer on cardstock, and I'm going to add that in there. So I decided to have like one of the flowers kind of go over the top a little bit. Yeah, that is from like a 6x8 pad. That's what that's from. So that's what I put behind the picture. But then I also, you saw me punch out, I think you just saw me punch a butterfly. I use a butterfly on every one of my pages about my daughter, so which are most of my pages. And so I punched a butterfly from that same paper, and I have one or two hidden in there in the page. Not hidden really, but. So what I'm doing now is I decided to kind of go with that tween idea and the idea that she is wearing a superhero shirt, even though Batman technically isn't a super because he doesn't have superpowers. His superpower is his wisdom and his brain. So there you go. But anyway, so I am going to add Super Tween as my title. So I am using the LA Studio Jordan alphabet stamps. I'm using the background stamps first here, and I am going to go ahead and I decided to go ahead. I know that my journaling is going to go right here, so I went ahead and just decided to glue it down so that I wouldn't keep moving it around when I was trying to stamp the title. So what I end up doing with the title here, I really like the title. I'm not a person that stamps right onto my page very often, so this was kind of fun because I used a few different techniques here. But so what I'm going to do after I get this glued down is I'm going to add the word super using those same outline stamps. And then I also have the same Jordan alphabet stamps that have dots and stripes in them. And I'm going to, in some of my letters, I'm going to add dots or stripes with the darker, actually, I think, am I using the dark color now or the light color? I can't remember, to be honest. It was a while ago that I made this layout. So you can see I'm kind of like, I'm using that darker color, the wild honey color. And you can see that I'm kind of laying it, I'm lining it up on my acrylic block and using it to keep it straight, using the acrylic box for it to be straight. So now that I have Super Tween, I am going to add a few, not every letter, but some of the letters I'm going to add the dots in or the stripes, and that just adds a little bit of texture, just changes it up just a little bit. The other thing that I did is I just did one letter, I wanted to see how hard it was. I did the U. I took some pattern paper and I went ahead and I used ink and I just inked right onto pattern paper and then I fussy cut it out. So that U is actually cut out pattern paper in the shape of a U. And you're going to see me do that with a few more of the letters as we go. So first I stamped, and then I decided that I wanted the added dots and stripes in there. So I used the outline first, then I did some dots and stripes for some of my letters. And then you're going to see me stamp right onto some of the paper like this, just using that light color, the same, actually it was the wild honey distress oxide, and I'm just using that to help me know how to or where to cut to make it exactly work, and then I'm just gluing it down, and I do that with several of the letters. The reason that I did that is because I just wanted to add a little bit more interest, and I thought it was fun. I had seen it done before, and I just thought, I want to try that. So I did. I used a couple different pattern papers. One of them, it has flowers on it, and one of them is the same pattern paper that I used behind my photo as a layer. So now I'm kind of ready to start gluing some stuff down. I have mostly just flowers, some leaves, and my flare. I thought this flare worked perfectly. At first, when I was thinking I would use that star, part of the reason that I was going to use a star is because I was thinking about superheroes and stars and that kind of thing. But then when I saw all of these lovely flowers and all of that, I decided to go away from the stars, and I knew I have a bunch of Bee Flair from the Flair shop because that's her name. Her name is Beatrice, and so it just worked out that I thought, I know I have some, and it's a perfect yellow. So I went and through and found the one that I liked the best for this layout, and it says just, and then it has a picture of a bee and then you, so just be you. which I thought fit the sentiment of the layout as well. So as I'm doing this and gluing things down, I'm realizing that with all of the type of my journaling, and then the Flair has black lettering on it, I was feeling like I might need a little bit more black. So that's what I'm thinking about as I'm finishing up here, but I'm going to do a few more things here. I decided that I wanted a couple more of the letters to have the pattern paper, so I'm going to add that. One of the things I thought I would just do here is read what the journaling says. It says, "This age is so interesting. Bee has gotten into hair, makeup, and other teen things. But here she is, looking grown up with super fun hair that she copied from the internet, yet still wearing her Batman sweatshirt. Hashtag tween, hashtag Batman forever." And so, yeah, so that's my journaling. And then, the other thing that I decided I like often in most of my layouts, and you probably know this if you follow me, is I usually do something, some kind of a border. Like I might draw a border, or I might cut down my paper and put a border around the outside. And so that was the other thing that I was kind of thinking about as I was finishing up this title. I went back over each of the letters that I added pattern paper to and stamped over the top of those again with the outline. And I decided that I was going to do some ripping. I really like to rip paper, and a lot of times I do that on my border. It might not be the whole border, it might be a part of a border, but I decided that I didn't need a full border for this one. I kind of liked seeing the white at the top and at the bottom, so I decided to rip a little bit over on the left and on the left side of my photo. And then up where the cluster is, I'm also going to rip a little bit of that paper and add the same paper. I think I actually might do almost the whole thing. I can't remember. Yeah. So I cut it, and then I rough it up a little bit so it looks a little bit more torn. And then I add a full strip behind it, or almost a full strip. So that way it just kind of pulled the two sides together, in my opinion. So there, yeah. So that, I am almost done. So like I said, the other thing that I was thinking about was adding a little black, and I wasn't quite sure how to do it. So I went back to my stamps, and I found that same stamp that I used to stamp the pluses on. And I grabbed that. It's by Vicky Boutin. It's just a background stamp. And I grabbed my black, and I was a little nervous because here I'm adding black stays on over the top of a basically finished layout. But I didn't want it to be like stark black either. So what I was doing a lot of the time is as you can see, I'm kind of stamping the second stamp. So I'm filling it up with black, getting it all inked, and then I'm stamping on something else, just a scratch piece of paper, and then stamping on my layout. So that I didn't want gray, I wanted black, but I just wanted it to look a little more distressed or something. So that's what I used. Then I added the date, and here it is. I'm all done. So here's a look at the layout. There's the Flair, the close-up. I just love that bee so much. And here's my title. And here's some of the layers behind my photo. So thanks a lot for stopping by. This was a fun one to make, and I will see you again soon.